Welcome back to Rift Rivals 2019, powered by Alienware for Origen versus Cloud9. Now, the three of us will be bringing you Champion Select for this game in hopes of charting some much-needed improvement from Cloud9 in the draft. Now, that said, we do have some news that Blaber is subbing in for Sneaky in the bot lane. Due to illness, Sneaky is unable to play today, so they are bringing in that second-string jungler. We got the Swolefish.
So this isn't we want to give Blaber experience in the AD carry position. This is our AD carry physically can't play. We need a sub.
He's a Kindred player.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm thinking. I feel like Cloud9's going for the double Ranger strat so that they can scale later on into the game, get a good Sejuani in there, maybe the double Glacial, and just set.
I feel it.
I mean, Kindred works so well. If you have Mordekaiser top, then you get Phantom.
But he's
easy
banned in the
one-off.
tournament.
They've been playing a lot of teamfight tactics, so they've got this in the bag.
So it's Ashe, Kindred bot lane, Sed's jungle, Mordekaiser top, and then we round it out with some ninja somewhere. Okay, perfect. So that's the C9 side of things. No, in all seriousness, while this will definitely shake up the draft from Cloud9's perspective, I think it may actually do it in a rather interesting way, just in that, as we've seen from G2, this is the most flexible the meta has really ever been in terms of finding new synergies and ways for champions to key off of each other and ultimately become effective within the game. And for the way that Cloud9 will stack up against Origen, we've talked about Cloud9 being the closest an NA team has come to that G2 style of play, while Origen traditionally has been one of the slower of the EU teams, at least here at this tournament.
I mean, even though they finished the game relatively quickly yesterday, we saw many instances of them hesitating at times, not to overextend, not to overpush. They're a team that typically is more towards the, is this play 70-30 or is it 50-50? Because we don't want to take this gamble. And yesterday, I think we got to see a bit more of that risk-taking, especially in the early game, and their ability to snowball early leads. And I think that is definitely good growth for the team, and it's important considering that when they return to Europe, Origen and Fnatic will be one of the big oppositions that they'll have to make their way through if they want to finish near the top of the LEC standings.
Now, similarly, yesterday, Patrik himself moved to the mid lane. We had Nukeduck coming down to the bot lane. So again, when looking at Champion Select, I think it's going to be very intriguing for Cloud9 about how they respond to the possibility of Blaber, both playing into a ranged matchup or into a melee matchup, and not really knowing. Granted, they will be on red side for this draft.
Yeah, within the LCS, a lot of the teams say Cloud9 is one of the hardest teams to draft against. So we get to see Reaper and crew try and flex some of their creativity now that they have some different parts to move around. And it looks like he's excited about the prospect.
You know what I would love? I'd love the Gragas coming into the bot lane for Blaber. Nisqy piloting that Yasuo still from the mid lane. So you still get the Gragas Yasuo that they played in the LCS, just it's coming in different fashion. The question is, what does Zeyzal play alongside of Gragas? I'm not sure.
I just don't want to see more Sona Tarik. That's what I don't want to see.
Sona Gragas.
Tarik Gragas. Sona Gragas. Basically, I think one of the big issues for C9 yesterday was that they ended up drafting a lot of losing lanes.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, it was against G2. One of the discussions we had, Kobe, is when you think you have winning lanes, G2 do their swip swaps, and then suddenly you don't have winning lanes. But I do think that something that is very important that I think Europe has brought a lot of to this tournament is that they like to play for plates and they like to play for lanes. And counter picks are very high priority for Europe, and they like to leverage strong lanes very early on. So what I want to see more from North American teams and why I was so adamant on it for Team Liquid was that I think this is something that North America need to adapt more, and why I'm actually quite happy to see Cloud9 on the red side now, because they can save that counter pick for Licorice. We can see Svenskeren play towards the top side. Don't forget about Blaber, just leave him to survive, do what he can, and I think that you just invest more towards the top side of the map, and you try to either shut down Alphari or you try to play around one of the strong sides of the map that I think that you can guarantee.
Yeah, with all of the teams really embracing this flex pick style and getting more creative with even where they send their players, the counter picks become more and more difficult to hold on to, because the later in the draft, everybody then gets a second counter pick that switches everything up in the end. And with red side, you kind of get that final say to try and get your desired matchup.
Well, we're diving right into Champion Select to watch the bans come up for Phase 1. Talia, Draven hitting the ban table. Will be interesting again to see how these ban phases evolve with the swap in lineup?
So I do think that the Taliyah ban was in part thrown at Blaber, largely because Taliyah jungle was a thing for a long time, and I've heard that she's
Still is, by the way.
back as well, yeah? And so they're afraid of something like the Taliyah Pantheon bot lane.
Right.
If Blaber could potentially take that one up, so they're going to just deny that off the board. They don't want to have to do with anything crazy coming out from the C9.
But then they leave up the Gragas Pantheon bot.
That's very true, the Gragas Pantheon.
I mean, in all honesty, I would expect a higher likelihood of a kill bottom.
Yes.
Right? Because we've already had successful uses of Yasuo bottom lane and things like that. But whenever you have a substitute player, you look for more comfortable champions. I think the champion comfortability and the style of champion is more important than what lane you're in or whether you're a laner or a jungler.
Finishing out the ban phase, Aurelia, Sejuani for the side of Origen, sitting on the pike in the Draven still for Cloud9 as they work out that third and final ban. It will be TF.
So the Karma is still available if Origen want to grab that one up. Cloud9 could then look to trade it for a Yuumi, depending on what high priority both teams have, but both very strong in the current meta. Origen can't guarantee both, so Cloud9 choosing to remove one of those global pick champions that we know many teams have favored so far in this tournament, and they're going to trade power pick for power pick.
Or not.
Or not.
Or they go with the Tahm Kench. I hear it. I feel it.
They might be threatening the Tahm Kench Sona bot lane themselves.
Yeah.
It's something they have drafted before during the regular season, and we in Europe actually prefer the Tahm over the Taric because they feel that it gives you a lot more kill pressure in the lane.
And it's one of Mithy's, most played champions. He's got such a history on Tahm Kench. It was a really big part, even when he was on TSM in North America. Big changes to the champion, though. I think one of the biggest ones is the shorter range on the level 6 ultimate.
Right.
So you don't get quite as much map mobility early on. Here we finally get the response, though. These are power picks that we're accustomed to with the double shielding, healing.
I was gonna suggest this, the mid lane Karma and then the Sona going down to the bot lane. You could still take the Taric in your third pick before phase 1 ends because they're probably not going Taric Kench.
I mean, that's true. Right now, you're kind of looking at a protect the something comp.
Hecarim?
Yeah.
If it doesn't get banned, then it's like, oh no, they'll swap away from the Sona at the last second, take up that J4, likely going to Svenskeren. But who knows? Could also be a part of that kill lane, bot lane.
I mean, Cloud9 do have a lot of flexibility right now. Expectations are that the Jarvan does go into the jungle, but you can move it up to top lane, something that Alphari actually likes to play a lot in the regular season. So they do have that option, unless it is that kill bot lane. Jarvan Leona is one of my favorite go-tos.
And the other thing about Karma, not only did she get big buffs for 9-12, very powerful all-around champion right now, she's a very simple champion. So that could even be something they give to Blaber.
True.
Karma carry in bottom lane is a very real possibility.
RE, baby. RE team fights, let's go.
Well, they don't have the Warwick. They wouldn't get the wild passive. Come on, Dash. Origen actually going to round out their draft with, or the first half of the draft with the Neeko. So this is again another flex pick, something that Europe really loves to flex between mid, top, and bot. You won't expect it to be bot lane because we already see the Sona Tahm Kench, but the ability to not only flex it between mid and top, but also between AD and AP Neeko is a big strength of the champ.
And Patrik, last time we saw him, didn't he have the Neeko? So we'll see if he's going to be the one on the Neeko or the Sona.
Well, the Sivir gets locked in, so assuming that the players will fill the positions they're listed in, Blaber will be piloting that Sivir.
I'll be honest,
marksman.
Sivir, not the hardest marksman to play.
Again, hit R.
Yeah.
Well, come on.
Easier than Karma in teamfights. Just hit R, not R, then E.
And your W hits everyone.
Your timing on your spell shields does matter.
It does.
And
but if I can play Sivir, then
I have a
Blaber
lot
can
of
play
confidence
Sivir.
that Blaber,
Yeah.
who we assume is a challenger player, can play Sivir.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
So I think this is a fine champion. So
All right,
far.
but the Yasuo ban comes through, which is what Patrik played yesterday.
Nukeduck.
Or Nukeduck played
Yeah.
yesterday when Patrik played the Neeko. Sorry, I just keep thinking about the Yasuo being in the bot lane and therefore attributing it to Patrik. But yeah, so the Yasuo hits the ban table, a Yuumi as well. Azir as the final ban for Cloud9.
So
We'll see what Origen responds.
Their
to that.
expectations are that this Neeko is going up towards the top side and they want to try and limit some of the mid lane pool. Note that a lot of options like the Gragas Yasuo is still available, and what Origen lack right now is AD. So by banning away the Yasuo, they potentially force Origen onto something like a Zed or just something a little bit more AD focused, or they force the Neeko onto an AD on-hit build. So I like the ban coming out from Cloud9, and Azir I think is just very strong and safe in the current.
I think Origen are also setting up for a possible carry jungler here. I really like carry junglers when you have this type of setup.
Is Camille to pick into Aatrox top here? Oh, perhaps not.
Now remember that Rise is reworked on this current pack. Why I say reworked? You had some small changes made to some invisibilities. So I'd be surprised if they go for it. I don't know if teams have figured out how strong he is just yet. But Origen, undecided, they will lock in the Camille, so that a little bit more of that carry jungle style that you were talking about. That will also compensate for some of the AD that they're lacking as well. And still, very strong early game jungler that can set up for a lot of ganks. Which lanes he looks to gank is still very debatable. I think he could look bot. I think Tahm Kench is very strong in terms, once he has that setup available to him. Now just to round out, it's the ultimate debate of where are they putting the Neeko at the top.
That's what I thought. Camille actually going into the top lanes and Zhao possibly in the jungle.
Oh.
I'm liking this as a somewhat of a 1-3-1 composition where the Tahm Kench gets to visit the side lanes as Camille and Neeko are splitting a bit.
Definitely could be the case here. We've also had a lot of Camille mid lane too, so don't get set in your lane matchups. At least in North America Challenger, they have a lot of possible Camille mid lane matchups, so they're kind of denying that swap.
So Kennen likely going to Licorice as Nisqy. He really loves playing that Aatrox from the mid lane.
Yep, so it looks like that the Camille is an answer to the Aatrox, but it is in fact going to go into the mid lane. This is something Nukeduck actually played in week 1 of the LEC, but usually they primarily played it with a Sejuani, and they believe that that 2v2 is what makes the pick strong. But something that they also value is that the ultimate combined with Sona actually synergizes very well, and I think that it gives you a very powerful mid-game spike.
And Rek'Sai is extremely good at getting a Camille going early. Camille mid likes to go for short trades.
Yes.
So you always want to utilize the passive shield for Camille, just get your little bit of burst damage in. But the real threat comes from when your jungler is able to arrive. Flash Rek'Sai, Camille hookshot means that is guaranteed engage. And with the changes to Aatrox, you don't get a reset with your ultimate unless you get the kill. So it's definitely a viable target to go all in on.
General sense, Vidius, how do these two compositions interact? Where is each team looking for their advantage and who wins early versus late?
Well, I think Sona Tahm Kench is surprisingly strong, but against the Sivir bot lane and Karma as well, you're going to lose priority. So I think Cloud9 have the advantage there. Up towards top side, Neeko versus Kennen, depending on which build you choose to do, I think can also vary the matchup.
Okay.
But I think it's possible for Origen to get the advantage there. I think the biggest variability will be in this mid 2 versus 2. How aggressively will Origen look to play through this lane versus what will Cloud9 try to do in terms of answer?
With that, the teams have loaded onto the Rift, so we're going to toss it out to the casters for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. We are here to witness Origen versus Cloud9 here in day 2 of Rift Rivals 2019. And we've got a role swap. Nisqy with the Sivir is going to be playing bot lane as Blaber fills in and takes over mid.
Yeah, we thought Blaber was playing AD carry, subbing in as a traditional jungler. Instead, it will be mid lane on the Aatrox up against the Camille. So getting counter-picked in that matchup, although he is running the Ignite, so a little bit extra trading power for these 2v2 mids, which I think is going to be super important. Because when Origen play this Camille mid, it's not about beating you in lane or going for the 1v1 usually. It's all about controlling the river and having the superior 2 versus 2.
Well, we're going to hear a word from Cloud9's coach himself. Riv, take it away.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Reaper. Reaper, victory on the horizon. How's the team feeling? You looked all smiles on the stage.
It's been fun to drafting with the Blaber. And, you know, if we don't know what we are doing, how they know we are doing, you know? That was a strat, yeah.
Absolutely. And what was the strategy to actually have Nisqy on Sivir? Did Blaber not have enough time on the ADs, or is he just preferring that bot lane?
No, not really. We just drafting whatever looking good. And who wanna play Sivir here? Maybe me. that was that happens.
All right, Reaper. Good luck in the matchup, and we're gonna throw it back to you guys to see how it goes.
Yeah, I will say, I think it's actually pretty reasonable putting Nisqy on Sivir. I feel like the play style is something that he can kind of get to, and Blaber's on a champion he normally plays in the jungle in Aatrox.
Yeah, C9 are basically G2. Who wants to play this champion? You go whatever role you want.
Yeah. This one more out of necessity than opportunity, but it is what it is, and who knows? Maybe we'll see Cloud out of the winning bot lane for the first time in several years, and it might look good for them.
Oh no, Freeze. How are you gonna do him like that? He can't even defend himself.
I actually super love Sneaky too. I think he's an amazing player, but I had to make the joke.
Oh.
All right, well, it's trading in the bottom lane. Yeah, Sona, Tahm, Kench versus Sivir Karma. I do expect Sivir Karma to be winning this overall. You can pretty reliably spell shield Sona Q and get mana back for that. Keep pushing into the turret. Really good damage here. I mean, Patrik is getting clapped early on, but keep in mind, has a mana pool, can get that sustained back up.
Exactly. In lanes like this, it is never about your HP bar, it's strictly about the mana. So while yes, Nisqy got a lot of good trade down on towards Patrik, Patrik can sustain on through, and Nisqy's going to be relatively low on that mana pool, so we'll have to wait before he can throw out too many more of those boomerangs. Svenskeren hitting that early level 3 and coming bot immediately, actually.
Well, they're not going to get him because they're too close to the turret, but a nice empowered Q is going to get damage on a Patrik, putting him quite low. Nisqy almost stunned up. Mithy pushed away, though, and we can kind of continue to track the farm. Keep in mind, Sivir is essentially CS against Tahm Kench right now, so 18-9 is that scoreline.
Gotta do that mental flip on the scoreboard, like 2 times right there.
Yeah, it'll
Tahm
flip a bit
Kench
later.
Picking the most. But you can see Origen, while they are losing pressure on bottom lane, both top and mid going very well. And because Svenskeren showed himself all the way down bottom in that river, gives room for Kold to steal away these raptors. He still has the Scuttle Crab and 2 camps on his top side as well. He is quite a little bit far ahead of Svenskeren in this early game.
And Nukeduck plays himself well, doesn't take any sweet spots in from Blaber, sidesteps the W backwards as well, and that's a decent trade. Farm, though, pretty close to equal, as we do have the players now swapped. You can see the matchups there, as mid lane first round is pretty close. Svenskeren seeing, do I have a gank path just yet? Early TV Patrik does have Frostwing, though. That's the important power spike to get to. Got that item, so now he's safe to lane.
Looks like Nisqy gonna go back and teleport in as well, top of his own mana pool. Now, this mid lane matchup is going to swing basically just depending on the jungle pressure and whose jungler is nearest, because it is very risky, especially for a champion like Camille, to trade forward with her hook shot. It's a relatively long cooldown in the early game.
Good damage there, and I absolutely love Nisqy rushed Executioner's calling first back. That is the earliest Executioner I have literally ever seen in pro play against double healer. I love it. I think it's going to be very, very effective. It will help the trades a lot. Keep in mind that this is a very poke-heavy lane. I don't think you always do this if you're playing like a Leona Sivir kind of thing where you're like trying to burst her all at once, but you're going to poke her so constantly that you're going to make headway through her W with that. You're going to have the Grievous Wind stick for 3 seconds, which can sometimes affect the Tahm Kench thick skin. If it ticks down in time, you'll get a couple of those ticks halved, so definitely a lot of value there.
Yeah, the Grievous Wounds is going to be most impactful during more extended trades where Sona is trying to smash that W key and waste a lot of her mana for those types of sustained trades up in that matchup. I do also think that while the early game has been relatively quiet so far, this is once again a game that is going to sort of explode around that level 6 mark, both because of the Camille's ability to hit level 6 and then look for roam plays around the map, as well as 2 very aggressive junglers. These champions will be looking to get a little bit scrappy come 5 minutes into the game.
Absolutely. The early jungle lead, though, has gone to Rek'Sai. As you mentioned earlier on, Svenskeren showed in bot lane, and we had seen the Raptors taken, if not more. So it is a good early start for Kold. Top lane within 3 CS, mid lane within 2, bot lane, as we mentioned, of course, a small lead. Expected, being that you are against Sona overall, it means the game is slightly in Origen's favor early on.
And looking forward, projecting 10, 15, 20 minutes into this game, look at these team comps. I think that on the side of C9, they have a really strong team fight, both the ability to initiate with the movement speed of this Karma and the Sivir, but also just reliable primary initiation with the Jarvan. You layer a Kennen up on top of that as well. It is very straightforward how C9 want to execute in these 5 versus 5s. Whereas for Origen, they don't have that primary initiation tool. Yes, Camille can go in, but she's going to be a little bit more squishy. The Neeko, too, will have to find a very good ultimate. It's much harder to execute Origen's 5v5 when they are in an even-numbered team fight.
Now we are having Kold reconnect to the game a little bit. It was him who paused, and he will be rejoining soon enough, and we'll hopefully get everything sorted out quickly, but that is what's going on right now. As we get that all fixed up, shouldn't be too big of an issue, and he's in his own jungle, so nothing seemed to have really stopped him regardless. Yeah, the engage is going to be a little bit difficult. I think watching for Alphari engage will be pretty big. Certainly we tend to see AP Neeko more than anything else. Similar for AP Kennen, it is Glacial Augment Neeko, which is going to be kind of exciting. So you're going to see like the Spooky Ghosts and GLP build, and that will help find ways in.
Yeah, if anything, that's how they look to start a fight, is we don't have to fully commit with any spells or our bodies, Camille throwing herself into the fray. Instead, they can use the Spooky Ghost to get things going.
Yeah, that'll be useful here. So Nisqy in his first, I believe, professional game in bot lane. I don't believe he'd ever role swapped in before, is doing pretty well on this Sivir, waiting to see what eventually comes through. He is out of potions right now because of how early his TP was, so sustain can become an issue depending on how that plays out.
I do also think it's really funny that in Patrick's 2 first international games,
yeah.
he has played against mid laners both games. First it was Bjergsen yesterday where he role swapped. Now it's Nisqy coming down to him. It's kind of sad too because Patrick is really starting to step up on the LEC stage. We were waiting, we want to see him compete against some of the best AD carries North America has to offer. Now it's like, okay, you get to play against some mid laners. That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to need a couple minutes. We are going to restart Kold's computer, and that'll take a little bit of time, but it'll be back up and warmed up before too long. And I do want to talk about kind of Origen right now. For those who don't watch LEC a ton, of course, they were the second place team in Spring Split. They famously lasted longer against G2 than TL did, so, that's already a
By 4 whole minutes.
Yeah, but a pretty strong start overall there. And even though they are 3-3 right now, early on in the summer split, 2 of those losses are to Fnatic, who's undefeated, and G2 themselves. So even though the 3-3 record doesn't look terribly impressive, it's against the actual best teams in Europe.
Right, and even in those 2 games against the 2 best in EU currently, they still held relatively competitive for the early game, and that is something that in the LEC we always judge teams on, is how well can you play the early, even though over the rest of the split, Origen has been one of our slowest teams in the LEC. So we saw a little bit of a new birth for them yesterday in their game against TSM, where they went really fast, really early. With this composition we're seeing right now, maybe it tends to slow down a bit for them, but Origen is always a team that can play many different picks, many different styles, and adapt based on their matchup.
Yeah, definitely a strong team. Going to be looking forward to this squad, and we think they are a hopeful to go to Worlds for Europe as well as our Cloud9. It is interesting where this feels like the first Rift Rivals where all 3 teams in attendance are kind of expected to be the 3 teams to continue to be top dogs through Summer Split. Very frequently you have a mid-year drop-off, and I think so far that's not been the case in any of these 6 teams. We do have lowercase r's in all chat as Kold has reconnected. I don't know why they don't bother to just put in the other 4 letters to say Eddie at the end, but they're ready.
There's no Eddie in this game, though.
Really? That's where you went with that one?
I was trying to do one of your jokes because I thought you would laugh at it.
You can't.
I made a really bad joke thinking Freak is 100% guaranteed to laugh at that.
That's not true. I laugh at funny things. Funny, stupid jokes, not just stupid jokes. Wow, you can't just say things like that.
I'm an analyst. Of course I can.
Oh, you're wrong a lot. Well, I guess that's how that one goes. Either way, some more poke coming across as, wow, the healing is halved because of grievous wounds. Execution is calling. I love it. Everyone loves it. And we are back onto the Rift here with a pretty actually meaningful gold lead early on for OG.
Checking out the gold across the board, it does look even currently between the Tahm Kench, looking maybe 300 gold down up against that Sivir. Actually ahead in gold over Blaber's Aatrox in the mid lane. Not necessarily what you want to see, but of course Blaber subbing into that position. Not in the best of spots.
And a fairly rich Tahm Kench feels pretty solid as Nukeduck does jump away, and this time around Blaber is feeling quite comfortable here in this mid lane, temporarily down in CS, but that is because he took a recall and walked back in.
You can see as soon as he starts making that aggressive play, Svenskeren was waiting near that middle lane, ready to back him up in that fight. All of C9 actually trying to take some control around this river and limit Nukeduck's ability to move around the map, because the big number to look out for is level 6 for Nukeduck. Once you get that ultimate, it becomes so easy to tag team with the Rek'Sai and look to find picks onto the enemy jungler if he oversteps the river.
And speaking of players, actually, it looks to me like Licorice is going for an attack damage, or at least on hit focused build on the Kennen. Early item was the No Magic Mantle, and I feel like it's actually likely to be a Wit's End early, just based on the sort of things I'm seeing in his build.
Yeah, I mean, it would really surprise me to see that, considering he's going for the phase rush. He could also just easily opt into the Merc Treads up against the Neeko and reduce some of that crowd control, but we'll keep our eyes on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not as common. It is about 80% AP Kennen in games overall, but wait to see what happens. Nisqy pushing and gets exhausted, though. Could be taking a lot of damage there. The knock over the wall. Kold wants in and grabs first blood. Beautiful stuff right there. Nisqy forced to run. Not going to find the stun onto him. Finds not even any damage as Devour comes through on towards Patrik. Gets a spell shield out, and now it's Svenskeren's turn. Blaber coming around as well. Not going to land the Q knock-up. Looks for the EQ flash to get that one, but isn't enough damage. Svenskeren's going to try. Mithy is low, puts on the gray health, and the damage might just be there. Patrik, one more spell. Knocked up to buy the time. The flash. There goes Blaber. He needs one more. That's a second, and he'll revive. Not going to find the knock-up there, but that might just be the revive. Force out of Blaber. He will walk away cleanly as C9 answer 2 kills.
Beautiful counter gank there by Cloud9. The double jungle gank in the bottom lane. OG tried to TP in.
A little early on the queue there. Mithy is on front. Not going to find any knockups just yet, though. They're going to try, though. He's going to be pulled right back in. Mithy, I've seen that TP before back on TSM. And he might just drop yet again. Big damage, though. He might pick it up. Svenskeren will go down. And Mithy, will he walk away? He actually does. You got to be kidding. The flash Q not going to land either. And would you believe it? What a teleport from Mithy.
Now here comes Nukeduck. He's ready for the fight. Level 6, he goes on Nisqy.
Flash finds a stun. Q's going to kill Nisqy. And now the chase down. They're going to try for a little bit more. Kold on a killing spree. What a setup. Mithy had it all along. Big brain plays.
I thought Mithy had lost his mind with that teleport. He comes on in, but he survives for so long using gray health, dodging away from the boomerangs on towards Nisqy. And it's OG that end up coming up on top in a fight that never should have gone their way.
That was insane. It was a 2-for-1 to start C9's favor, then 3 in a row for Origen in the back half.
How do we even break this down? Because it starts off really nice play there from Kold, coming in from the Fog 4. They get that initial kill, but look how low Patrik is. C9 were making the move down. Blaber had started the rotation very early on, so even though Mithy is able to keep Patrik alive for a little while, C9 have the HP advantage. And once Blaber assists in getting this first kill on towards Mithy, he has the ultimate to go ahead and charge forward, to dive under the tower, knock down Patrik, and get that reset on the health.
But then I think what you really see on the second half of this one is the big brain play from Mithy as he sets up for the fight for the LEC as, okay, it's never seen him to walk around and we don't get the back half. Instead, we get the point of view play.
All right, he jukes one Aatrox Q, then gets sucked back. No, he dodges everything. He flashes away from the jolt back. He, of course, gets the Devour on towards the Jarvan as well. And look how he escapes here, too. Auto attack after auto attack hit him. Dodges last second, almost walking into the boomerang blade, and Nukeduck's back.
Beautiful stuff right there, and now we're back onto the rift, though, as a fight towards Mithy, trying to safeguard this Sona, but certainly not. Patrik will fall. Svenskeren grabs the first kill, and now Mithy, flashless, has to try to run away. Slowed down, knockup is there, and that's a kill in for Nisqy's Sivir.
Svenskeren just repeat ganks down in that bottom lane, knowing all the summoner spells are down. Now, Blaber, he knows Kold is here.
Ults for some move speed, finds a little bit of damage, will not die for this one, but goes back in to get knocked up. He's gonna get taken so much damage, and they have the follow through Kold on a rampage.
Don't know about that one from Blaber. He saw Kold the entire time, still got out, then turned around one more time. So big mistake coming out of him, but the rest of C9 get plenty of gold off of this tower bot side.
It still puts it about a 2,000 gold difference that the extra farm and kills are doing well for Origen. The second turret late in the top side about to fall.
The top lane difference looking absolutely massive too, both in CS as well as those plates. It's going to be about a 600 gold advantage for Alphari. They're not going to dive because Kold does not have his ultimate to reset that turret aggro, but big wins on the top side of the map for Origen without any kills.
Unfortunate, another pause right there. We'll see what that is from in a little bit, but this has been an already very interesting, very exciting game so far. Actually worth pointing out that Mithy is actually completely tied with Nisqy in farm, 66 apiece, so that is an incredibly good start on that Tahm Kench. He's very, very tanky, and as you saw from his plays earlier, is setting up for his team quite nicely.
Yeah, very nicely done by him. If we look for gold leads across individual players too, jungle is the biggest disparity. Kold, the Hail of Blades Rek'Sai has so much early game pressure. He's sitting at 4-0-1 at the moment with a 1,000 gold lead over Svenskeren. That means he has the completed warrior enchant, while Sven is still sitting on just the Balmy Cinder. So that is a very large itemization gap between these two players, which means that if there's ever a 2v2 or a 3v3 where both junglers are involved, it's almost always going to go in favor of OG.
And it looks like Kold on your screen. It might be from him once again. We have crested the mark for Sona for Patrik to get his items online. Just got his 500th gold out of his Frostfang, so that's going to start turning into him taking all the farm. Mithy's going to stop doing so quite so much, and that'll move on forward as we wait to see what comes out of this one. But looking about it, you are, I think, right about Licorice going AP. For some reason, Phase Rush, I was like, Phase Rush, that's a great auto attack keystone, like forgetting that you go like fleet footwork or lethal tempo, press the attack, any of those things like much more frequently. So I was like, okay, that's bad brain for me. But yeah, it's Merc turns into an Amptome. He'll probably go Gunblade for the lane pressure to be able to lifesteal and stay full health, but that is going to be an AP Kennen probably for the late game team fights. AP Neeko, of course, as we expect.
Yeah, I'd almost like to see Kennen pivot into going for the proto belt because you're losing lane so badly. I'm like, get out of the side lane. I don't care if you're trying to sustain up. No. You're going to lose that anyways. I just want more mobility within these team fights because that is going to be C9's way to win this game. It is going to be grouping up and just trying to train you down with the movement speed and all in they have.
Yeah, that's going to be the attempt right there. And hey, Sivir Karma is a ton of movement speed. Of course, on the other side, you've got pretty good mobility out of Sona here as well. And Tahm can people around. I actually kind of expect a fairly mobile game. You've got lots of, I would feel like, long-range crowd control that can come over walls as well. So I do think we have a very volatile mid-game in store for us as time goes on. Also with the Mountain Drake done and picked up earlier on for Kold, they've actually got some good split push pressure. If you have to keep leaving Alphari by himself in the top lane on Neeko, he's already winning lane. He's already up 22 CS. That's going to get worse and worse, and the turret's going to drop in front of him.
Yeah, I think if Origen were to, have this gold lead shrink a little bit on them, 1-3-1 is what they would want to split up into because you consider 2-item Camille going to be smashing that Aatrox in the side lane. Neeko should continue to have this advantage over the Kennen, assuming he goes for that teamfight itemization. So you can continue to get pressure across the map and play super safely with a Sona Tahm Kench.
Yeah, it's going to look really, really good for them. And we're basically going to wait for the Sivir items to come online. But for now, we're going to take a quick break while we work out our issues on stage. But meet us back here for the conclusion of Origen versus Cloud9. See you soon.
Welcome back to Rift Rivals 2019, powered by Alienware. As you know, we are currently waiting for things to get all set up on stage for the return of Origen versus Cloud9, working through some issues with Kold's computer as we speak. That said, gives us an interesting opportunity to talk about the game midway through. And we had just witnessed a very interesting interaction between both teams in the bot lane. Want to kind of work through this one bit by bit to see how each team is approaching the fights overall. It's a long one, but we're going to roll it out. Vedius, help me walk through it.
So one of the cool things about this play is how the play is set up, right? Because note how Kold actually comes through the enemy's half of the jungle and is able to set up this sneaky flank up towards bot. The problem is that they have no priority in mid. So while the gank itself is fine, if they choose to overstay, both the Aatrox and the Jarvan are going to collapse down onto the trio. So what Origen is looking to do is get a kill and then disengage. So the small mistake that Origen make here is that they choose to overcommit onto Nisqy when they should be looking to back off. Because they choose to go for this kill, they realize, okay, we've stayed in too deep. But one of the advantages that they have is Nisqy stuck clearing the minion wave. So they think, hey, maybe we can actually fight this 2 versus 3. But then they realize that it's a Sona plus it's a Tahm Kench, only level 5 versus a level 6 Aatrox and a Nisqy who's now joined the fight. So if we now pause it, we can see that C9 are in a great situation because they've just gotten themselves a return kill. They've got themselves 2 kills, and now it's their turn. They need to disengage because Nukeduck has now regained priority in mid and could look to roam down bot, and the Tahm Kench has teleport and is ready to rejoin the fight. So at this point, C9 need to be like, all right, we're disengaging. Blaber, sure, he wants to get the reset, get all his health back up. This is fine. But they need to now get out of dodge. They need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible. And then they see the TP come in and like, wait a minute, our Karma's about to arrive. We have 4 people. Surely we can fight this. But they don't have the mana. A lot of members still at level 6. And we get to see some beautiful sidesteps coming out from Mithy. And again, look at the minimap. You can see that the Camille is now making her way down. So what should have been an easy 4 versus 2, because C9 did not read the situation properly, recognized they didn't have the mana or tools to get those kills, they're now the ones overstaying, and they now allow Origen to get these kills. And it was a bit of a comedy of errors of both teams, thinking they can overstay, thinking they can get these kills, and ends up backfiring for both of them.
Only speaks to the way that this tournament has unfolded, though, where it's about the second-to-second reactions for each team and how they navigate those elongated skirmishes.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back into the game. I heard they are ready.
That's what I was hearing too, so if I get the go-ahead, yes, as we load back onto the Rift, we're tossing it over to Freak for the call.
Thank you very much. Ender's still joining me as well. Can't forget him. He's probably the most important part of this duo, as Rift Herald is being taken by Origen. Will not be a tower dive, but simply in a neutral objective picked up as we sit still on this 2,000 gold lead.
Probably. I'd say definitely. Personally.
Yeah, you're right. It's all you.
You know it. You know it.
I do. That's why
I was
said
actually looking at, during this this pause, I was looking at OG, and they had actually brought Mithy up towards that top lane. They didn't end up going for the dive, which I thought maybe was going to happen, but now after helping secure the Herald, he has reset, is going down bottom lane, along with 4 members of Cloud9. OG actually making a play mid lane themselves.
Yeah, pushing up towards the top side to look for the Aatrox, who they thought might have been on the roam down as well. He might have been in fog, I didn't quite see, but regardless, it is going to be bot lane outer turret falling. The substantial pressure down there does get first turret gold over, plus all the plays to C9.
Yeah, and OG bring the Herald down mid lane too, so they lose first tower, but they should get a big chunk on mid lane. Unlikely they can actually finish this off because the rest of C9 is en route, but OG may be setting a trap themselves.
Not gonna land the Praetor just yet, but they are still sitting around on both sides. There's a stun for Nukeduck, looking for lots of damage as they're gonna pick C9 apart. 2 kills. It's gonna be a third before long. Svenskeren, no way out. A double for Nukeduck. Beautiful.
Beautiful setup there from Nukeduck, waiting on the flank there while Blaber was forced up towards the top half of the map. C9 were stuck in a 3v4 situation, getting collapsed on from both sides. There was just no way out.
Looking at the stun towards Mithy, though, almost gets devoured, but Blaber able to walk away in time after landing that third Q. Takes some poke from Patrik, but out they go. Herald was killed, claimed some plates.
Yes, this is really interesting here from Cloud9. They're stuck on this side of the jungle. If we actually look at the map, we try to get a little bit closer here, we see there's a big play going on in, and then we uncover that the real root of this replay is just the simple truth that EU is greater than NA.
There it is. Yep, that's science. That's a color caster right there.
Yep, solved. That's really all we have to break down in the rest of this game. EU greater than NA.
I have no response to that.
Yeah. At least you won one game earlier.
We did. The show match.
The show match.
And now the turret's under fire once again as Patrik is back in a mid lane, laning against Zeyzal. And getting damage onto this turret, earning some extra gold as that goes around. But now a play in for C9. They found the root. Do they have the rest of the squad in range, though? Nisqy, no ult to commit. They're not going to get anything on Mithy. Out he goes.
Both flashes up on the bottom lane from Origen. And Kold sitting inside the Cloud9 jungle. He's so fed right now. He could one-shot Sven.
No, he couldn't.
I mean,
He
maybe he could.
solo kill him, but he wouldn't one-shot.
He could, okay. One shot maybe a little extreme.
Cinder Hulk needed to be reasonably durable.
But true damage coming in from Kold's Rek'Sai. The hail of blades, the ultimate execute damage. Ooh,
Those
he
cool
hurts.
as well. Kold
But he's squishy.
into the river. He's fine. He's got a Ruby Crystal and no big deal out there. Gets a ward down on C9 side. They know some of their own side of the map is now Blaber. Having a hard time against Alphari. Okay, ult comes in, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to win the siege at all. Just pushed right back out, pops the ulti, gets the move speed, runs away. Mid lane now being cleared out by C9.
Yeah, it's a preview of the future of the side lanes for Cloud9. Both Aatrox and Kennen going to be struggling significantly in their respective sides. If anything, right now, Licorice is feeling a little bit better about himself because there's no Tiamat coming through from Nukeduck, so a little bit less wave control. But even then, still, we're seeing the push going in Origen's favor and doing very well on turret damage as we get close to the 14-minute mark.
Importantly, Essence Reaver money is now available for Nisqy, so whenever he backs, he can pick the item up. Indeed, there it is. Cool, we made it. He TP'd back to lane, no problems there. Turret plates fall in the various side lanes, and we still have this 4,000 gold difference. But Blaber, jungler that he is, roaming to the top side, hoping to help Licorice.
This could be trouble. Licorice setting the bait at the moment, using his E aggressively, trying to force the all-in here. And Blaber's actually walking all the way around, so Nukeduck all the way... where is he? He's inside the bushes, but he hasn't shown.
Well, they're going to find some turret damage for now, and Svenskeren coming out as well, and he's going to reveal himself on top of this one, so I think it'd be foolish to try to defend. Nuke shows himself. He walked out of the brush. They know he's there. He's going to go for the stun right now. Here's a lot of damage flashing away. Nice pushback. That W was crucial. Blaber pulls him right back out with the Infernal Chains, and that prevents Alphari's ult flash TP from doing anything.
Yeah, really nicely done there on the bind there from Blaber. Now 5 members top lane with C9. They should be able to knock down this turret. Without a wave in mid lane, Origen are going to be slow to respond to the push.
Dragon will be taken down, so double Mountain Drake for Origen will help them with future turret sieging, but C9 do grab outer top lane. They get a bit of gold back to them, but it was all 5 committed to the top lane right there, so no mid, no bot control. Now an engage towards Mithy. Does have flash for when he needs it. He's going to devour, do some decent damage, spits him right back out. Not quite the stun for Nukeduck, who's now low himself as a flash away. Mithy now puts the shield up, but in comes Licorice, and the shutdown comes in for Blaber. Mithy going to be next up. One more skill shot, and they can't quite land it. Just tanky enough as he walks away.
Cloud9 grouping as 5, using their comp as they need to, finding the engage there, getting the kill on towards Nukeduck. Now they want the tower. They have the ward, they're going to get out.
Find a lot of damage. The flash Q's not going to land, but they're still going to get the assist of the Blaber. No, not in time! He's going to go down before the revive, and that is a fumbled engage. Root not going to land a stun towards Alphari. Big crescendo on it, too. Nisqy goes down. Sven's re-engage won't be enough. enough damage. Kold comes back across, then devoured to safety. Origen out, team fighting Cloud9.
Once again, it's Cloud9 that get the first kill, but then overstay. OG outplay under the tower and continue forward for 3 kills. Big move out of them to maintain gold lead.
Huge pickups there. The gold lead now up to 5,000. It is growing over time, despite the fact that Origen don't have turrets themselves. Their kills and farm are so much better.
And now, you know, everything's starting to stack up. The Sona continuing to scale, getting close to that Seraph's Embrace. See it one more time. Blaber going in on towards Mithy. I do not know about that play. And then the rest of the team is just stuck here. Patrik will end up using the ultimate onto 2 crucial members, both Nisqy and Licorice. Leads to very easy follow-up from the rest of OG.
He just slowly walked up and crescendoed them. They didn't react to it at all. He's not in time, and down went those 2 members. Back in the side lane, Nukeduck now playing on this side, does have Triforce done and building slowly towards the next piece of the inventory. Could be a Sterix, I guess, early on. I don't think Titanic. Maybe Titanic, but I don't think so.
It would be a late one, certainly coming out from him. Is the
non-Tiamat early Titanic Hydra, probably not the build.
Still though, Origen in a comfortable position here, working on getting Alphari's itemization to come through with the GLP for the engage. Now Blaber caught.
Another 1v1, not finding any sweet spots there. The ult actually immunes in front of trains to the backside, so plenty of damage there. Kold now unstoppable, 5-0-7.
Cloud9 need to step up the vision game right now. Origen's way to continue snowballing this game is to play through their side lanes. Because of how strong Rek'Sai is at the moment, he can roam around, try to pick off individual members. You also have the global pressure of the Tahm Kench. They have to be hyper aware of where Origen are on the map at all times. Otherwise, they're gonna keep getting picked and they're gonna keep falling further and further behind.
Looks like a temporary lull right here as the teams reset, push their waves and recall. And Ender, I got a question for you.
I've got an answer.
That's good. If I said Kold making an enemy out of Cloud9, would you understand that pun?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So Kold used to play in the North American LCS as Trashy.
Yep, I remember
on the
Trashy
team
Enemy.
Enemy Esports.
Yep.
And Enemy weren't very good.
No.
So making an enemy out of Cloud9 is saying you're dumpstering them. They don't look very good by comparison.
Yeah, that's
it's
what I would call a stretch.
You should stretch every day. The doctors recommend that. Ouch. That's why I do this. Licorice in the battle. Double's coming across. Svenskeren trying to buy some damage, but he getting stunned instead, and Kold is dominating, making an enemy out of Cloud9.
And you did it anyway, Freak. Why not? Origen, they're gonna get the kill and the red buff and full control over the jungle here. Why are you like this?
I don't know.
Just why?
I just am. 7,000 gold lead. Origen are clapping C9 with their new roster. Nisqy in the bot lane, not doing too amazing right now. Another dive into the top side. Licorice, goodbye. Alphari, nice stopwatch, buys the space, gets away from the turret, and that's going to be another dead structure. It's going to be 3-2 in turrets here. Origen clapping this game.
C9 tried their best to DDoS Kold, but he's about to go legendary in this game.
Well, that's why Jensen's not on the team anymore, I guess. He would have done it properly. Okay, that's probably not a good reference. That's maybe a bit too harsh. Either way, we're back onto this one as Nisqy's gonna get ulted. Whoa!
See you later.
Patrik makes the big play.
Nisqy just disappeared. Svenskeren's trying to find a fight. He's like, wait a second, where'd my AD carry go?
He's at home sick, really.
That was a joke.
Okay, got it. That was subtle for me. Well, I guess I explained the joke, so it wasn't too subtle, but I didn't realize you were that clever. That's what it is, actually. It's me low-key dissing you, but I think you didn't make the joke on purpose.
How are you trying to turn this around on me?
I don't know.
Your joke's been
I'm just
terrible.
I'm just like this. As the wave gets cleared away in Origen, they're going to knock down this turret without any issue at all. As the items keep stacking up. Seraph's and Lichbane already done on Patrik. He is freaking massive right now. 9,000 gold in inventory, second richest member in the game. Didn't even start the game by CSing at all.
That's just gross.
Yeah.
OG also getting their third Mountain Drake, so they can just walk over to the Baron whenever they want. They're not going to take any damage because they have a Sona on their team. They're also just going to instantly disintegrate it.
Some honey fruit picked up as triple Mountain Drake comes in. Yeah, disintegrate is probably a good word for it there. As Svenskeren gets to kill a Gromp. Slowly.
Woo! They're coming back.
86 gold.
He's
That's
rich.
like 1% of the deficit in this game. So, you know, do that 100 more times and they'll catch up. Kold might be rooted, but channeling right over the wall. Nice tunnel. Out he goes. Now on the top side, Licorice got to be careful. Does have flash, does have an ult, puts some damage across. Can't find any damage though. They instead dunk towards Patrik. Stopwatch 5.5 seconds. Nisqy spell shields some damage. Big stun coming in for Alphari, and there are no kills to be had. Patrik stays alive. Svenskeren flashing away, but is there even an escape for him as Kold follows through? Can't get the damage into Patrik. Double kill now for the Neeko, and it's just Licorice left alive. The first one engaged upon, just running for his life, but he's slowed down by the GLP.
He cannot run. Mithy flashes forward to apply the taste of
And
blood.
take the kill.
Yeah. He got
Woo!
it. That's a Baron.
Man. Origen, they're gonna get Baron here. They got the ace. 11,000 gold lead. I think they got it. I think they're gonna win this game, Ender.
Now, how do they throw this like G2?
How do they throw this? Well, you play gauntlet style. You just take one person at a time, and you 1v5.
All right, I like it. Do a little prize fight like in the Nexus Blitz.
Yep.
Even then, we see this fight. Licorice, the initial target. It's 5v4 for C9 at the start, but they dive so far onto Patrik, who has his Zonia, that, well, look, Nisqy gets soloed out by Kold. All the damage had to flash away there with Licorice leading the fight as well. So the tag team of junglers wanted to go deep. They wanted to find the pick on towards the squishy carry, but they had no follow-up.
Yeah, they don't really have backline damage. Keep in mind, it is full tank Jarvan, so he's not getting all that much done early game, and Sivir largely zoned away as well, so quick pick up there. Mithy grabs the
secure.
chomp. Yeah, secures it. Nicely done.
And now OG with a 13,000 gold lead. Full control over the map. Interestingly enough, they've split up 1-2-2 at the moment, with Kold being off towards that top side of the map. Mithy and Nukeduck teaming up here because they have the global pressure of that Tahm Kench. Actually, no, that's a Neeko. Neeko looks like Alphari's the one in the mid lane. Disguised as Tahm Kench.
Yep. And then reveals the disguise and presses GLP, slowing down the squad. Sivir pops ulti.
Kold just split pushing on Rek'Sai. He thinks he's playing in 2014.
Sorry,
with
misheard.
the global ult.
Yeah. But now it's a dive into the bot side. Licorice taking a lot of damage there. Gets a stun across, but still stuck in the hexagon. Nukeduck solo kills him under the turret.
Mithy shows up at the end too. Now Kold in a 1v3 flashes out of the Cataclysm while the rest of his team keeps pushing.
Well, split push overall going to be successful then on the Origen side as they grab that kill, and losing a flash hurts a little bit, but I'll take that overall. As now mid's under fire. Bot lane's going to drop now as well, and they are pushing into the base rapidly here as all 6 outer turrets are now gone into the middle inhibitor turret now. 5v4, still 12 seconds on the respawn for the Kennen. There's a nice knockup coming across. There's a Sivir ulti this time around. Stun's going to find only Svenskeren. Don't play it on, that makes him very, very tanky. Do they have the damage though? Nukeduck will not go down. Instead,
Nukeduck, he just hops in for the 1v3 while the rest of the team gets the kill. C9 tried to make the play before they lost their base, but now there should be 2 inhibitors for Origen.
Nisqy is slowed, has to get away from everything, just barely survives. Spell shield a little bit late, but doesn't really matter all the same. Gonna go back to the fountain and heal up anyway. Middle inhibitor going to drop. Good wave clear out of the Origen side as Nukeduck runs into the bot lane as well and opens up the bottom inhibitor now.
Sven spawns in 10 seconds, but there are 0 ultimates ready and available for Cloud9. They have to try to wave clear their best, otherwise it ends here.
Well, they put players where they could, but it's not going to be enough here for Cloud9. The gold deficit simply too large. 16,000 Origen, making quick work of C9, improving the record for Europe here in Rift Rivals. They chase down for a couple more kills, a little bit more KDA, a couple more turrets, a little bit more gold, triple Mountain Drake, and all across the board with the Sona on Patrik. Still can't find a conventional bot lane in a lane against, but still doing very well all the same as the dive comes in. Crescendo over the top, the flash, the unstoppable assassination as Sona is in combat, killing absolutely everyone. That's Origen chasing up to the fountain. Run for the hills, Cloud9. You are not going to stay here. A 25-minute victory for Origen.
I like this fast Origen, Freak. They're playing so well. Kold in particular in this game, absolutely stepping up, finishing 9-0-9 on the Rek'Sai. His biggest competition was the lag he was experiencing on stage.
End of the game still with slightly less money than Patrik himself, but otherwise rich on the Rek'Sai. Cleaver, Guardian, Angel both completed. 1,500 gold in inventory at the end of it as well. Origen remaining undefeated here at Rift Rivals. They will knock down Cloud9, sadly without their full roster today. But at this point, that is win number 5. That actually guarantees that LEC wins the group stage of Rift Rivals which means they get counter pick of first team on Saturday's Gauntlet Best of 5.
So now what does EU do for the rest of the day?
Win even more games to make a statement.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
G2 is going to come back with some fire under their belly. I
They
think
are.
we're going to see some Tahm, Kench, Sona bans. They don't want to play against that garbage. Origen seemed very happy to play it themselves, though, and Patrik looked mighty fine while doing it.
Really, absolutely did. Origen definitely a strong team overall, Cloud9. I believe that's their last game of the week, because I think they played 2 yesterday already.
They did.
So we will see Cloud9 tomorrow, hopefully with Sneaky recovered. We can all hope for that one. And we'll see them in the Gauntlet, a staggered best of 5 where each team plays at least once. And now, Origen won. So for more on that victory, let's send it over to Riv, who's standing by with their mid laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am joined by Nukeduck after quite an explosive game to take down Cloud9. We were just kind of chatting as you guys went into Champion Select. You were thinking, wait, they have their jungler going to be AD, but he's not even AD. How did you guys kind of correct that situation?
Yeah, we expected, some like crazy fighting lane bot, but then they just picked Sivir and Nisqy played the Sivir. It was like, it was very weird, but when we were very comfortable when we saw that was the situation.
And of the 3 teams, we've heard that Origen was one of the kind of slower to get their victories in Europe. What do you kind of think has allowed you to step up the pace here, or are you just kind of playing more free?
I think we don't play that slow in Europe. It's kind of like a little bit more of a narrative, but at the same time, I think we're a little bit better than Cloud9 and TSM like today and yesterday, so we can just close quicker.
Awesome. How do you kind of rate Blaber's first time in that mid lane on the Aatrox? It seemed like he had you in the beginning, or were you just kind of reeling him in?
No, he played pretty well. Like he had the roam bot. Like he's a bit stronger than me in early game, and he abused it well with the dive bot or the roam bot. But after that, it was it was hard. But yeah, he did pretty good.
All right, Nukeduck, final question. You guys have had so many great victories here on the Rift Rivals stage. What has Origen and yourself been doing kind of in the off time here in Los Angeles?
Just like go to restaurants or like go to the beach, play volleyball and stuff like that. I like it a lot here.
Awesome, very good. Well, congratulations and best of luck moving forward for the LEC. We're going to throw it to the State Farm analyst desk to break that victory down.
Thank you, Riv. Origen with a victory over Cloud9. Good to hear they made it to the beach as well, though, while they're out here to enjoy some of the SoCal sunshine. Interesting for us because we got to cover Champion Select ourselves as it was happening. We even had that kind of respite in the middle of the game to break down one of the crazy happenings in the bot lane. So really where we returned to was just a few minutes preceding kind of the game deciding or game closing replay, which coincidentally happened 15 minutes into the game, a 3-for-1 for Origen here, displaying just utter dominance over Cloud9 in this game.
So one of the things about this play, though, is that they actually have a numbers advantage because they've just been able to kill Camille, and this was a decision that they didn't need to make. They didn't need to try and force the dive. They didn't need to try and get this kill because while this play looked promising initially, the fact that they overcommit allows Origen to turn it around in such dominating fashion.
To me, it's not even an overcommitment. It's a misexecution. And this is Blaber, by the way. When people talk about him being on stage and, coin flipping super aggressive plays, he's definitely the one calling for that. He's the one going in on Aatrox. He's also the one mistiming the flash with the Q so he doesn't actually get Mithy. The whole point there is to get the kill. If he gets the kill on the Mithy, then he can reset with his ultimate, and it's fine. So it's literally a misexecution. Like they messed up their dive, and it was an aggressive call from Blaber. We've been saying all day how you want North American teams to make more aggressive 50-50 plays.
You're right.
Well, you got it.
He made it.
Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah,
There it
take
is.
it back. I saw the conviction in his play. He went for it. I respect it, Blaber.
Missed the flash,
Yeah, while the effort was there for the Cloud9 squad in the wake of Sneaky being subbed out, I think we have to recognize, though, Kold's performance individually for the side of Origen. An absolute monster on that Rek'Sai. Built pretty impressive KDA there, not dying a single time, up to 18, that is, and the highest kill participation on his squad.
And this is a champion that best enables Kold to be very active in the early game. Last split in the playoffs, when he got his hands on this champion, he was extremely dominant and enabled a lot of his laners to start the snowball early. And this is why I fight this battle with Nukeduck, where he's saying that they're the slower team. They definitely are, but when he gets his hands on champions like this, you get to see a very different Origen where Kold gets to dictate a lot of what happens in in the early game and definitely increases the number of kills that we see in the game.
As was mentioned by Freak, that amounts to 5 wins now for Europe, which will give them the edge coming out of group stage, regardless of how the remaining games go. So they will have that counter pick when it comes to the relay race. Obviously, if things go to chalk the way that the group stage has gone, Europe is looking to come away with the win in that best of 5. But again, we have to remind ourselves the kind of the game of the relay race in and of itself. But I'm very curious now that EU has secured that, how those teams, those coaching staffs will come together and ultimately decide who gets to counter who, and for NA, what the attempted strategy for a win will be.
I think the only thing that I'm pretty sure is going to happen is Origen's going to request TSM again. Because Mithy seems so happy to get that win for TSM. I bet he wants another one.
I would not be surprised there.
I don't know if they'll come in with a strategy. I think Origen feels so the European teams feel so confident they'll play against anyone. I could see G2 wanting to get revenge against Team Liquid after losing.
That's what I was going to say. I assume you think G2 is your best opportunity to beat TL, as well as wanting the win against TL from today.
I also think that Fnatic versus C9 is just a really historic matchup. They might just do it for the fans, where it's like, it's such a
we called all 3. Boom.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be.
Well, you don't even have to watch the rest of the games today. You know what it'll be for tomorrow in the relay race. I did also think it was kind of interesting, of all things, that with Blaber coming in, they elected to put him on the Aatrox and Nisqy on the Sivir. Granted, I know Blaber has practiced the Aatrox for its time in the jungle, but Nisqy is a guy who's played Aatrox in the mid lane very recently. And so you'd think, like, that delta in change of moving him down to a Sivir feels very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, I personally side with giving the jungler who got autofilled whatever he wants. Because I've been in that position. I'm like, you know what? Make Blaber comfortable. You want to play Aatrox mid? Play Aatrox mid. There you go.
Thanks for subbing in, buddy.
I do also think that Cloud9 did a lot of good things in the early game.
Yeah?
Like, even though Kold was popping off, the gold disparity, I don't think it was that big. They were staying relatively even in kills. And I think that their bot lane play was actually very good. It's just some of the decisions that they made without the relevant information is ultimately where they got punished. Like the roam from bot to mid. You know that there are 4 people mid lane. You should be aware of where the fog of war is, and you should respect the potential. They didn't, so they get flanked on by the Camille, and they end up crumbling. And it's like small decisions like this that snowball into to massive leads. And I feel like it's something that Europe as a region has done very well, and just utilizing fog of war a lot and like punishing these small positioning errors that some of the North American teams have made.
They were on wards. What do you mean? Camille was on ward. No fog of war.
Camille was in darkness in that mid play. So they didn't actually see the Camille come around, and they didn't know she was in there. So I'm pretty confident that was blind. I want to give T9 the benefit of the doubt and say it was blind.
When Camille roamed down bottom, she went over a wall.
You know it's bad when the EU analysts are reaching for ways to protect North America and their rivals. Thank you, my friend. On the other side of this break, G2 Esports load onto the Rift, opposite TSM. Don't go anywhere.
I'm running to bot. I'm running to bot. No flash this coming to bot, coming to bot. No flash Aatrox. No flash everyone.
Holy shit, no flash everyone.
I'm 6.
Yeah.
This is time for Nukeduck, looking for lots of damage as they're going to pick C9 apart. 2 kills. It's going to be a third before long. Svenskeren, no way out. Nisqy goes down. Sven's re-engage, won't be enough damage. Kold comes back across, then devoured to safety. The ult actually immunes in frontal trains to the backside, so plenty of damage there. Licorice in the battle. Double ult's coming across. Svenskeren trying to find some damage, but getting stunned instead, and Kold is dominating, making an enemy out of Cloud9. Still doing very well all the same as the dive comes in. Crescendo over the top. The flash, the unstoppable assassination as Sona is in combat.
A great product can define the present, but it takes the unprecedented to define the future. To go beyond what's next and change the world of gaming. To make history, break ground, and force the universe to take notice.